Okay.
Okay, it's like we're live.
Yeah, we're recording. We're live-ish on YouTube, so should be good to go.
Good.
It's all yours.
Thank you. Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to approve minutes from both June and September. Motion to approve June minutes.
I so move.
I second.
And to approve the September minutes.
I approve.
I second.
Okay. And no members of the public present for public comment. Looks like we'll need to elect a vice chair since Brandon has left the board.
If you all have nominations, we can do that now, or if someone wants to step up and be the vice chair. But we're also going to, since we only have 6 members of the board right now, we're going to open up slots at the end of November and try to get some people in, new members of the board in December, so we could wait until January and elect new officers then. So it's up to you, Sarah.
I'm good with that unless there are any objections.
No, I would support holding off until we grew.
Okay, sounds good. Brian, can you lead us through the deliberations?
Yes, let me just write this down real quick about vice chair. Okay, so let me share my screen. So I emailed this to you a little while ago with the updated information. I'm going to go from 2 screen to 1 screen really quick because that makes the screen sharing much more complicated. Okay, there we go. So, like we said, the budget has not been finalized, but we tentatively have a $380,000 budget. The first $25,000 is set aside for Lakewood's Promise, which covers part of my time. Part of it is for pays for the youth count of the youth summit in the spring. It's for the collaboration meetings and the strategic initiatives that Promise does. So that is set aside. That leaves us with $355 in allocations for recommendations to the council. We're going to the council on November 9th. And so, yeah, we need to be looking through this. So as you can see, just to summarize, all the organizations over here on the far left column, all of your scores. And as we said, we divided the advisory board into half. So each of you only had to review 12 to 13 instead of all 25. So you could really dig into them. Some of you are eager beavers and did all of them. And then the average scores are in the second column, and then they're weighted in descending order of the average scores. And obviously the allocation column is just theoretical. If we were to fund all of them, how far down do we go? But obviously in the deliberations process, you may decide to not fully fund some of them to make sure some of those get in. That's what we'll be talking about. As we said, the first 2 steps would be to say which are the ones that scored low enough that we're confident they're just not going to be someone that we recommend. And then we're going to write the little summary, our summary of what why that application scored low and what they could maybe do better to improve their application. Then the second step will be to say the top ones that scored the highest, we probably want to fully fund. And then that leaves more of the deliberations focused on the middle range and how we want those to go. So we can start with essentially around, well, let's see, I'll leave this up to you all. Which ones scored low enough that you're pretty confident we are not going to end up recommending them for funding?
Deanne, do you remember exactly how we did it last time? Because what we did is we funded a certain percentage of the highest scores fully funded. Mm-hmm. And then we went down to a group that had the second highest scores and we funded them like 80%.
Right.
And is that how we did it?
Yeah, that's how we looked at it going down. So the ones that topped I want to say it was the first 2. Look, I think the last time we scored, we had more that scored more like right at the top, like the 35. And then we scored them all, I mean, that's how we did the 100%, and then we tiered it down from there. You're correct.
So if we start at the top, these top 5 there's a gap between number 5 and number 6 there. These are the top 5 that clearly score the highest.
I would feel good about fully funding those, with the note that I recuse myself from Greater Lakes.
So it takes some quick math figuring on your part, Brian, I think. But, okay, so let's just start out by saying we fully fund the top, how many, Sarah?
Looks like we have 5 selected there.
The 5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The top 5, okay, fully fund the top 5. Okay, and then, boy, there's a whole bunch with 31s.
Yeah.
You know, that could be like an 80 or a 90 or an 80% funding or something like that.
There's a 2-point gap between Emergency Food Network and YWCA, so that's clearly where the gap happens. So this is clearly kind of the second tier. Yeah, 7 through. Do you want to look at?
What do you think, Sarah? Do something like 80% for second tier, and then what I'd like to get away from is everybody at the bottom getting $6,000. I mean, you know, maybe not everybody needs to get funded, and $6,000 for all of those programs isn't going to help them much, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah, the expectation is not that we fund everybody, and we didn't fund everybody last time either, right? We had 18 organizations currently funded, 24 contracts currently, 24 programs currently funded, and there were 12 to 14 that didn't get funding at all. And as you can see, a trend is more organizations asked for higher amounts this time around than last time.
Yeah. I had a conversation with an unnamed city council member the other day who made a comment, something to the effect, well, not everybody needs to be funded, you know. So maybe that's you're right though. What's messing everything up is everybody went for max, and we had a lot last year that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The last time.
So what we're talking about is that top 5 to Greater Lakes, so all the way to 7 would be at the 100%. They scored 32 and above out of possible 35. I
agree with that.
Is that the total amount, 35?
40 is the max.
So 40 was the max. So if you scored 32 to 40, it's at 100%.
Okay, let's start with that and see what brings us. And then the second tier would be all the 31s.
Yep.
So I took all the 31s and I took your just initial thought of 80% and put that in there. You can see these columns. You can see what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make that a different color. So that top one is kind of tier 1. That one's 100%. I'm making tier 2 80%. That one's green. And then you can see how this. I have the formula going on in column E. So as we add money, it shows how much is remaining.
That's pretty clever stuff.
Yeah. So if we just go to the next tier, it would be 60%, right? 180.
Yeah.
60.
Where do we stop that at?
Maybe 28. I mean, that's only 4. If we can add the other in, that's 6, but there's a 27.2 to a 29 for that.
Yeah. What will that look like, Brian?
Well, let's do it. While I'm doing those calculations and adding those in, I would encourage, well, and we'll go back and do this too, but these 3 organizations in particular that are at the top of what's currently turning into tier 3, have some of the really good outcomes for 2019, 2020, just something to keep in mind while we're looking at the applications.
Well, I think what we did last time, Brian, is we went through what the process that we're doing now, and then we went and looked to see if we were overlooking somebody that we really think needs to have some money. So we did some adjusting, didn't we, Deanne, after we did this?
Yes. So do we want this tier to have that? Because the other tiers have a 3 point or 2.5-ish spread. The other ones have a 1. This is going to have a, do we want to go down to 27 or keep it at 28?
Well, let's go to 27 and see where we are with the money left.
7.
Is
So
that
yeah,
all right with you,
60%.
Sarah?
Yeah, the only thing I'm wondering, looking at all of these, is whether it makes sense to just do the percentage of what they requested, because otherwise it seems like what we'd be encouraging in the future is just request as much money as you can, and then, I mean, because I'm just wondering, there are, a few in tiers 1 and 2 that requested lower amounts. I wonder if we could fund, say, Telecom Community Center at 100% of their request instead of dropping them down to 12. Since it is, we have that wiggle room because they didn't request the full amount.
Well, that's something we can look at after we get down,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, you want to go all the way down, then go all the way back up, looking at those considerations.
I think so.
Sure.
Sarah, what changed it this time from last time is
Mhm.
we had a lot of people that requested funds last time that were less than the maximum. But boy, there's not too many of them this time.
Mhm.
So they're catching on,
Yeah.
and that's what we're probably going to see from now on.
Well, this also reveals just the need, right? These organizations have big holes right now, and so they're kind of requesting maximum across the board because they need it, and they're also trying to reduce their admin capacity. So rather than a whole bunch of really small contracts, it's let's just ask for the maximums and try to get as much money with as limited admin burden as possible.
Right.
So for that 27 tier, is that also 60%? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, the 27 is the same tier. Your salmon color.
Okay, so what's happening, Sarah, if we get down to the last 2 or 3 that we think do not need funding, then we can take some of that money, because we've got some money, in the column that we can, move up and fully fund somebody that only requested $15,000 instead of $25,000.
Hey, Brian, this is my first time doing this. Do we have to allocate all the money, or can we have a reserve that we haven't allocated to anybody that would be up to us and the council to allocate if things should change going forward?
They're going to want us to allocate everything.
Now, don't worry, they'll move some money around if they think that they
Yeah.
want to,
I think we should stop at 25.
Yeah.
I mean, if the possible scoring is 40,
I
So
see
that's-
Lori's on. Lori, we're trying to do what we did last time. You're muted.
I liked what we did last time. It made sense.
Right. And that's what we're trying to do now.
So if you're talking about cutting off at 25, that means we're essentially at kind of 2 tiers left. There's the 26 and 25 range. So let me drop down here real quick though. So are we saying that these, the bottom 4 scoring ones are likely not to get funded?
I don't have an issue with it.
yeah, I don't either. The application that was submitted and just clarity, I think that I would support not funding at least those bottom 4.
Okay, so let's do this really quick. And for these 4, we need to, let's write a little explanation for each one really quick. So Your Money Matters, what was your summary of your assessment of their application and interview and maybe recommendation for next time?
Of all the things that are needed in this community, it's a good idea and everything, but boy, I tell you what, that's money that could be a lot better spent somewhere else for immediate needs.
Mhm.
Okay.
The drawback that I saw is just their regional focus, that they're asking for a grant that would be a large percentage of their budget, but that Lakewood residents would not be as significantly proportional in those served.
Mhm.
You know, it's really sad, but this is something that should be taught at home or at school.
And I didn't think that the budget matched what the intent was, because the materials being used are all free. They ship you the books, they ship you the manual, they ship you everything, and you can download everything online. So there wasn't anything to support how it would benefit the student if all of the materials and things were free. And it's being ran on a mentorship program and volunteer basis. So I just don't think it's supported.
Okay. So that's that one. And Lorraine's Place was our general assessment of that.
Gosh, you're making me like think about the proposal at this point. I think
In all your mathematical stuff here, Brian, do you have anything that breaks the money out by funding area totals?
No, I figured what we can do once we have these out, we can sort these columns by funding area and then just see really quick what that at
That'd be a nice litmus test to do on this thing.
Yeah.
What I had for Lauren's Place was, the only note I had was too many generalities, not specific enough on what they plan on doing or what they're going to do with the money, I think.
Is this the one that was primary in Pierce County, and they're wanting to do a mobile out in Lakewood, but they hadn't yet?
No, their mailing address is Lakewood.
Oh, this is the placement, the CPS placement on, okay, never mind. I got the two confused. Yeah, there wasn't any clarity there. Everything was generalized, and they said that they were going to use part of the funds to take a quarter of somebody's time to manage their resource room or something like that.
I think just not a close alignment with our stated priorities as a board.
The only note I had was that it sounded like it was a giant diaper bank.
Yeah, they talk about that a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
And they got a total budget of $1,525,000. So, you know, normally in situations like that, they can find the money someplace else if they need it.
Okay, so LASA.
There just seems like there's a lack of coordination, and I understand that they're giving rental assistance and helping in the community, and they're in Lakewood, and the city's invested a lot into LASA already. But I think right now, to me, when I read that application and her participation in the Zoom meeting is just, there's just not a lot of focus. It's just the great ideas and great resources. It's just not being applied, I think, to the extent it could.
My descriptions are off, let me know. Okay, so that leaves, what's the last one here? Career Path Services. Sarah had the only note in the rating sheets.
My response to the application is just that it felt like, I don't know, looking at developing career pathways without necessarily seeing the associated impact in the community or kind of the long-term addressing of root causes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but it just seemed like there was an awful lot of wishful thinking in that. You know, these are things that we want to do. These are things that we'd like to be able to do, but I'm not sure I read where they've got a real definitive plan on how they're going to do it.
Well, I'm looking at the scores. I mean, yeah, and the only one that gave them a decent score was you, Michael. And if you didn't see that, then
I know, but you look at all my scores are high. I mean,
you love everybody. Okay, so that's good. So that's those 4. So with this tier, do you want to look at 60% won't go all the way down? Do you want to go as far down as we can at 60% or 50%?
Try one, see where it takes us.
Yeah.
40.
At 40?
Let's see.
well, let's do 40 because that'll give us a little bit extra that we could pad upstairs, right?
Yeah.
40%.
So we're going from 70 down to 40?
We went from
60 to
60
40.
to 40.
And then more than enough that's over there. So, but I guess that's the point.
Oops, that's because I wrote it down wrong.
So that's 4, 1, 2, 8. Maybe round that up to like 42.
Oh, it left money. That's good.
So let's see who didn't get full funding. So let's one thing we should do is, so these blue ones are good. Let's look at tier 2. Are there any organizations in tier 2 that you think might be more important to recommend full funding than to give 40% to one of the 4 tiers?
Wait a minute. Number 13 is on this chart shows as fully funded.
Oh yeah, my bad.
So we have more than we thought.
There we go. Oh yeah, you still have 35 to allocate.
Yeah.
Do you want to actually look at fully funding the second tier?
Well, if you look at it as an example, the Tillicum Community Center, there were three scores up in the 30s, and then Edith did a 25. So, you know, I think they deserve to get fully funded. Personally, that's my personal opinion about Tillicum Community Center.
Similarly, I'd love to see Oasis Youth Center get the full funding as well, since they just requested the 15.
Well, the issue with Tillicum Community Center, and Lori and Deanne will remember this, we harped on them year after year after year to use their facility to generate some income. And they were just, you know, either reluctant to do it, didn't know how to do it, or perhaps they were just unable to do it. But, you know, that, and before they had the money issues, that was the big problem that we had with Tillicum Community Center, because they've got that facility and they've got ways of, you know, having events there, but for some reason, they didn't really earn enough money as far as, you know, we were concerned. But
Yeah, that's Tillicum.
There's a benefit to, this is one of the benefits of having 1-year contracts, I guess, is issues like that. It's kind of an incentive if you want to get the second year funding. And just keeping in mind, we have 2 community groups who applied, Tillicum Community Center and Springbrook Connections. So obviously Springbrook Connections didn't have as strong an application, but just keeping an eye out.
okay, so we got $29,000 left, right? Sarah, you're big on fully funding what? Tillicum Community Center? Oh no, that is fully funded.
I did that one. Yeah.
Springbrook Connections, I mean, that is one I think I 38 out of, is that right? No. Yeah, 30.
Yeah.
I thought their board is reflective of the clients they serve. It's very kind of, I mean, it's, yeah, community organization. I thought they had a strong equity focus.
Are we going to be criticized for not fully funding the food networks, the two Nourish and emergency food? We've always fully funded emergency food before, haven't we?
We always have.
Yeah, and Nourish. So all three main food organizations are falling into tier 2 right now. And keep in mind, St. Leo's in particular is the backpack program and the mobile food truck to Springbrook. That one's pretty targeted.
Oh, would this be a good time to sort it by funding area to see where we want to spread some more money? Or do you want to keep doing this?
Well, let's look at that. Let's do the figure out what you want to do with these three, then I'll sort them by funding area. Do you want to look at fully funding?
We're only $5,000 on each of them away, so just bump them up and see where that leaves us.
I'm just afraid if we don't do that, we're gonna kick some.
Yeah,
some guff.
Put them in the blue.
Yeah. Can't see anything.
So basically, we fully funded from 31. Oh, so you're already way smarter than me on Excel.
So I'm just gonna do it down here. Food, crisis, youth. Okay. Now, food. We're at. I can't see. Yeah. Yeah.
So in crisis stability advocacy, we're only funding basically three agencies, but those are at 40%.
There we go. I'm gonna do this real quick one.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Freaking Zoom is gonna be my bane today, apparently. Okay, 90, 160 for food, 60, and crisis 33,400. I said, yeah. So youth at 105. Health, we're at 66,200. Homelessness and housing, we're at, and actually Lakewood promises youth too, so 34. All right, so those are the current allocations. 98,000 for food, 33,000 for crisis stability, 66 for health, 34,000 for homeless, 105 for youth. 90 for food, I meant.
Well, it's too bad we didn't have a stronger housing homelessness application, you know?
Yeah.
Because you know that's on the radar.
Yep. Well, how much do we have left?
14,000? No.
Goodness. Fine.
I mean, one of the factors is everybody is on the same playing field coming in with the application,
Right.
you know, and to have an application score as low as a couple of these did, but then still fund them at the highest level of the,
There we go.
Yeah, it's not fair to the others.
yeah. And is it ever an opportunity for me as an organization to come in and say, well, I want to see how everybody else scored? Why they received funding and I didn't?
Yeah, they could ask for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
we've
question.
had that happen in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Edith.
Hi there. Sorry I was late. I was at the doctor.
No problem. Yes, people could come back and ask that, but that's why we
Put the
take
notes.
this. That's why we take this seriously. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 14,000 left, right?
Yep. And was we fully funded? Oh, so these guys are now blue.
Yep.
They're all fully funded. So we're looking at this range.
So those are 60%, right?
These are currently at 60%.
Okay, so 31 and above is fully funded.
So what if we move those to 75%? We did 100%, then 75%. What do you guys think about?
Let's see what
I don't think we get enough money, do we?
Well, let's see.
Let's see, 18.
Oh, we might.
This,
No.
at 75% is kind of an awkward number to bill monthly. It's not a huge deal, but let's look at the number. Yeah, 18. I'm just gonna call it. I'm gonna round up a little bit. Oh wait, how'd that happen?
Yeah, that's not right.
That's not right at all. There we go. So,
So how much do we have left to allocate?
Well, hold on.
now-
About 4,300 now.
18.
I'm sorry.
About 4,300.
I'd
now,
say
now we're
Oh,
negative.
negative.
Well, we're in the
We're in the
hole
hole.
now. We're in the hole.
So what
I'd
is?
say give it to community health.
But what is Pierce County AIDS Foundation going to do with $4,200?
Yeah, that's a consideration for sure. See, and a couple. So I know community healthcare. If you look at I sent you the 2019, 2020 one, the sheer volume of people that they see is pretty staggering. That's one that the council may want to see, may end up fully funding, kind of like we talked about with the food networks. It's up to you all to recommend them or not, but just keeping
Well,
that in mind.
there's somebody on the council that is not in favor of giving them any money.
Okay, well, I'll let them decide that.
Right,
Yeah.
girls? Remember?
I agree with Deanne's point about Pierce County AIDS Foundation. If anything, I'd like to see them get the full amount because then it's kind of a $10,000 tier. But now that runs into the percentage issues. I'm
Or
still
higher. Okay.
something I'm trying to navigate.
Yeah, they're only so low because they only requested the 10,000.
Mhm.
How big of a issue is this in Lakewood? AIDS.
Okay, so we gotta find a place to recoup $2,300.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Let me answer. Oh wait, I should have it here. Where did I put it?
Well, we can even up the numbers on the YMCA and the Making a Difference Foundation, make it an even 1,800 instead of 750.
Yeah.
Let's answer John's question really quick. Oh, you can't see that. Share. Pierce County AIDS Foundation. Pierce County AIDS Foundation in 2019. Oh, it's a youth center. Where are you at? Pierce County Foundation, medical case management. 100. They had 64 clients Lakewood clients in 2019. So that's let's take a look at that real quick. So community. So just a couple things just to remind you. So YWCA, these are actually 3 programs combined. You'll recall they submitted 3. I can't remember how much the actual applications were, but we ended up having 3 $10,000 contracts for 2019, 2020. So that's actually 3 programs together: the children's advocacy, women's advocacy, and the children and families shelter. And then Rebuilding Hope is also 2 different programs. So that's currently 2 $7,000 contracts. So they just applied as one, but that is the legal program and the therapy program together. And then community healthcare, just so you can see the numbers. Obviously, we're not paying for all these outcomes, but they served 16,000 Lakewood residents in 2019. Now,
2 years ago, Brian, we specifically changed the rules so that they could only apply for one program at a time to make it simpler for us to allocate the funds. When they started juggling 2 or 3 programs into one, it became a little bit more difficult for us. I'm speaking about me. And so we specifically went out and said, oh, you can only apply for one program at an application, right?
Yep.
Can we?
Exactly.
well, yeah, apparently I reversed that. So now they have multiple applications under one. But wow.
Okay, so if we take 750, 500, and 750 from the next to the bottom group, that comes out to how much money? That's almost what we need to find, right? Close to it.
Next to the bottom group. You mean, oh, these odd numbers,
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah, if we make those just even numbers.
$360 short.
So we need $360 someplace.
And we're back to Deanne's question about Pierce County AIDS Foundation and a $4,000 contract. And keep in mind, as of now, the floor has been $8,000.
Yeah, so I say we don't fund them.
Yeah,
Brian,
I agree.
on number 11, if they're supposed to be 100% funded,
Here.
they're shorted.
I missed one.
So now we're back in the hole.
Yep, back in the hole.
Way to go, Lori.
Sorry.
Lori and that math. Well, so if you decide to do that, then we're 1,000 short. So then can we write up our, if that's what you decide to do or recommend, you have a conclusion for how you want to write that up?
Well, I have a not popular suggestion. Can't we take $5,000 off of Lakewood's promise?
I think all of that is allocated. You can, but I think they'll take it back.
Yeah.
You know, I know that Asian Pacific Cultural Center is in the top tier, but you know, they have a lot of fundraising programs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have at Pacific Island Day where they have all the big food. They rent out their place. They give lessons there for different things. And when you read their application, it's really kind of focused on just, you know, one group. No. I would not lose any sleep of taking the money that we need out of that, but that's up to everybody else, obviously.
Just funding them at 25 or 22.5 to make up that 1160 difference.
What's everybody think?
Sure.
You could also look at having a consistent allocation for kind of youth programming. So right now, like Oasis requested 15, but Asian Pacific Cultural Center, YMCA and Boys and Girls Club, or Asian Pacific Cultural Center, YMCA requested 25, Boys and Girls Club requested 20. If you wanted to make that 120, you could have a consistent kind of $20,000 allocation for youth programming,
Right.
or you can just take 5 from Asian Pacific Cultural Center if you think that's what's best to do. Just
So
Just
Brian,
pointing that out.
do you have handy how much they got last year, Asian Pacific Culture? My recollection is we didn't fund them anything.
We didn't know Asian Pacific Culture Center is not funded.
Yeah, because their application was far from meeting the standard.
Yeah.
So if we keep it at, if we can justify that we funded the youth programs at 20,000. Well, Oasis Youth, they only requested 15.
About a 20,000 cap.
Yeah.
Do you want to see what that looks like?
Yeah, please.
Does that mean we're dropping communities and schools down to 20 as well?
Yeah, so just that one is not, I mean, you can do whatever you want. That one is, A, it's our highest scored application. And B, that one is not youth programming. It's like basic needs and social and emotional support services for youth. So you can, but I could see that one being pulled back up, especially since it's also our highest scoring.
Mm-hmm.
But it's up to you all.
Yeah, I think that distinction of youth programming versus basic needs makes sense.
So that brought it 88. So if we rechange that second tier back to that 80%, does that, well, that doesn't make any sense anymore.
Well, or we could divide it up on those bottom three.
Just make them 12, 5.
You wanna try that?
Something like that.
That's fine with me. I don't have an issue with that.
I feel kind of guilty about Springbrook Connections.
So the remainder, do we just divvy it up amongst ourselves? You want to do that?
Yeah, just write the check out to DEE.
Oh, wait, before I forget, what is the, what's our summary of the AIDS Foundation application?
The AIDS Foundation, that was to pay for an outreach worker.
Medical case management.
Yeah. Part of the salary, not the whole thing.
If I remember right, they have a huge budget, right? I was trying to find the application.
Yeah, they're the ones there. In 2019 numbers were 64 clients, 181 case management contacts. And this one, I mean, this one did not fall into the category of scored low enough not to get funded. This one can be a, it just didn't score as high. Just people out requested the maximums more frequently. But why didn't it score as high? Let's see. So Edith and John, you two gave it a 20. Do either of you recall where your lower scores came from?
Yeah, I just didn't know it was a thing compared to the other things we're trying to get accomplished, like access to food and emotional support and that sort of thing. So that's why, just as an area, I put it down because I didn't know all the facts actually too. So now that you share the numbers with you, I could have probably scored a little higher, but didn't seem like a thing to me compared to what we really need to fund.
Edith, what was your assessment? Edith, are you there?
See her. She must have muted herself.
See if I can help with that. I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second. See if I can help with that.
Hold up a poster. Edith.
Yeah,
Yes.
Edith, Yo, what was your justification for a 20-point score for Pierce County AIDS Foundation?
They have an outreach worker. That was my understanding. Let me get my forms.
You know, they got
That was
almost,
the partial payment for somebody to work with our kids.
they got almost a $2 million budget. Yeah, everything that they want is for personnel.
Can we add $670 to the Pierce County Project Access and Tacoma Rescue Mission?
Of the remaining. Just divvy it up.
Yeah.
You know, the total,
Between the two,
but-
because then the Springbrook Connections is below that 26. So they'd be that last program we'd serve or fund at 12.5.
Well, are there any in the one what's now tier 2? Would you rather divvy that up between tier 3, or do you want to increase any of the allocations to tier 2?
Okay, I'm
well,
happy.
if we add it to the bottom 3, then you're gonna have building together South Sound. Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, they're only getting $12,000. They're getting less than the 3 programs that were scored
Well,
lower.
actually, I think maybe I didn't change them. Maybe they should be higher.
Okay,
Because they've been in the tier we increased. Because they're at 60%. So they should be 14, not 25.
Yeah.
Back in the hole.
okay, now we're $660 in the hole.
If you want to make the math a little easier, we can make the Telecom Community Center allocation a flat 15.
Yeah,
Do
15,000,
that. That
Or
makes sense.
or Edith, you can write a check for that.
$500.
Yeah, I checked my rating and it was for case management.
Yeah. What's the ding there? Edith?
Well, Pierce County AIDS Foundation has a budget of, I just looked it up, a total the program budget's is almost $2 million, but their whole agency budget's like a whole bunch of money. So they've got other things that they can leverage if they need to. So I wouldn't have any problem taking that $500 from them.
Well, they're currently not funded at all.
They don't have any.
Let's see. I want to make sure we get this justification for the AIDS Foundation. So, which what I basically see like is great service, but just not one of the more critical, not one of the highest priority needs, according to the advisory board. Is that okay?
Yeah, similar to the one below it.
No, that's not really the right way to say it.
I think especially based on just recent comments, sounds like it's maybe less about priority alignment and we're just the larger budget, and that was part of our application this year is to try to give a boost to those smaller organizations.
Well, and I know the council has said more than once, we don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. We want to make an impact. And even at 12.5, what impact is that going to make? Do we, fund 10 with a bigger impact? And just
What
top,
are the,
top scores out of each funding strategy.
one of the issues they've had is, so they say that they're going to serve 300 Lakewood residents. They have no control of who walks in for service, right?
Exactly.
True.
You know, and in fact, I think that was an issue in the past that, you know, are you really treating that many Lakewood residents, or, you know, I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but I know that there was some kind of an issue with who they were treating and whether or not they were Lakewood residents. So.
All right, so we're currently 500 short.
So
And
those bottom three, what is the priority of where we think we want to put the money? Health, housing, or crisis stability? It's
Well,
not really going to make, I don't know who said it, but it's probably not going to make a big difference.
right.
I mean,
well, and let's, yeah, sorry, so go ahead.
Well, you have Springbrook that's in the back door, right? Tacoma Rescue Mission's downtown Tacoma, you know, like, so
Yeah.
being able to serve residents, would you take it from the 500 that's in your back door, or would you take it from, you know, the
Good point, Dan.
that's going to serve downtown Tacoma residents? And yes,
Yeah.
you may get some Lakewood because it's homeless and it's a shelter and services, but I mean, I would take it from Tacoma Rescue Mission.
yeah, I'm with you.
Well, I was not happy with the Tacoma Rescue's mission request. They followed their own
Yeah.
model. They
Yeah.
didn't pay attention. They didn't follow the rules initially.
Very difficult application to read and understand.
Yes.
So the only, and just something to think about, there are three organizations in this area that we're not currently funding. Springbrook Connections and Tacoma Rescue Mission, we're giving about half. I just wanted to make sure, Making a Difference Foundation, you know, this is the only one that's lower in this tier that you're giving a pretty big allocation to that we're also not currently funding. So let's just make sure that that's that they scored high enough that you would want to make that commitment. You guys comfortable with Making a Difference Foundation getting 18 or recommending 18?
I might wonder about dropping that one down a bit and maybe bumping up Rebuilding Hope, since right now that's the only outstanding 10,000.
But that's following that allocation breakdown, right? That's why they're at the 10,000 versus the 14.
Yeah, that's a percentage. So they're a benefit of asking for the maximum. You know, they're in this range. So right now they're getting 18. They scored a 27, and organizations that got a 28, 29 are getting 10 and 14. Only because they asked for less.
Right.
And I would pay attention to, just in terms of council priorities, Rebuilding Together is rehabbing older homes, which is a pretty significant housing issue in Lakewood right now. So just keeping an eye on that one too. Sarah, if you did you want to look at spreading that above a little bit? And if so, were you looking at these two? Is that where you said Rebuilding Hope? I thought you said Rebuilding Hope.
Yeah, I was just looking at Rebuilding Hope as the lowest right now of all of them, and the only one at that level.
I was concerned for Telecom Community Service that they did not submit a board of directors.
They have since sent me that information, but it was kind of a haphazard list and budget, like they just done it on a spreadsheet. But they at least sent me the documents later. any objections to what Sarah wants to do and spread a little bit of making a difference to Rebuilding Hope?
Fine with me.
What were you thinking, Sarah?
I was just thinking to bring Rebuilding Hope up to the 12.5. It looks like that would be the floor for all of them.
Just gonna take this away at this point. All right, so these are all fully, well, not fully funded, but the youth ones are capped at 20. Food is fully funded. So let's just go through this real quick. So YWCA 18 to 25. Do we feel okay about that?
What's their budget?
I imagine it's probably huge, but see if I can.
3.4 million.
Is that for that program, Brian, or is that their total budget? That's just their program?
That's their total budget.
Oh,
2 million in government grants and fees. Theirs is also, and this, I'm not sure if this includes size benefits, maintenance and utilities. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. So this probably excludes their whole building project that they're doing. So YWCA, so any objections to 18 of 25 for YWCA? Rebuilding Hope, currently 12,500 out of 14. Any objections to that being that level?
not here.
No.
Yeah, community healthcare, currently 14 of 20. How do we feel about that?
Oh, fine.
Okay, Catholic Community Services, we're at 14 of 20. How do we feel about that one?
Okay.
Yeah.
Rebuilding Together South Sound, 14 of 20. Or who cares about how many they asked for? 14,000 for Rebuilding Together. Feel okay?
Yeah.
15,000 for Making a Difference. Feel okay about that one? 15,500.
Mm-hmm.
And Project Access, 12,500. Tacoma Rescue Mission, 12,000. We just went over that one. Springbrook Connections is currently at 12,500. All right, so how do we feel about our our allocation recommendation currently? How many are we at here?
I'm good with it.
I see Linda Farmer's on this call. Wonder whether you might be able to get any feedback on how council might look at this.
Hi, sorry about that.
Hello.
Which particular one?
Well, I guess especially looking at recognizing that housing is a priority for the council. Nope.
Yeah, everything that Brian has mentioned around housing being a big priority, council is in a full agreement on, and also something that was mentioned earlier on in your guys' deliberations about being able to make an impact, and looking at the amount of funding per organization, and if based on their application, if the amount of funding would actually have an impact.
Yeah. So I have a question. And I mean, I'm okay with these funding, this, levels. But if we, if we look at each funding area and we fund the top 3 people or top 3 agencies in each one of those funding areas at full what they requested, it comes to $474,480. And we're funding 3, 6, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 organizations that may have a better, more of an impact on with the money that they're getting. And it looks like even with that kind of breakdown, we're still not funding, and actually that's not correct because that one wouldn't matter. So it's 364,000. So but they're still not funding some of those ones that we've targeted down below, like the Your Money, Your Manners, that part. So if the council is looking at a tourniquet and not a Band-Aid, and making the biggest impact, do we need to rethink about how we're looking at these strategies as far as, do we want to spread it out like peanut butter, or do we want to identify that these organizations scored the highest out of their each category, and then allow, go ahead, sorry.
Well, my advice would be to take everything into account, and I don't think you need to give the same, apply the same logic to each one. For example, you might have one where it would make a lot of sense to fund a smaller amount because it would provide needed seed money to get them started. Whereas in another case, they've delivered up a perfect project if they could just get all the funding, and we're our greatest hope for them to be funded for the whole thing. So the council isn't going to, speaking for myself, obviously, but from what I understand, it's okay to have things that are on different spectrums, just as long as it makes sense based on your understanding and the application and how it fits in.
Okay.
The strategies are not prioritized, are they?
No, we intentionally do not have a,
Right.
yeah. And we did not, this was something we talked about with council back in like April, was we recommended not like wanting to allocate per funding area, in part because they're apples and oranges, right? It's easier to have like, Linquist Dental has an obvious impact when a kid comes in and gets some dental care versus if someone gets one night at a homeless shelter. Is that a sustainable outcome? Well, it's a critical service, but it's not a sustainable outcome. So it's hard to compare dental services with a night in a homeless shelter. So we didn't want to be doing that.
Well, I offer that we go with this, and if they want to change it, they'll change it.
Yep.
Okay.
Feel comfortable with it?
Yeah, this is the result of our, long reviewing the applications, scoring them, doing the interviews, going through this. So unless we have any problems with this, I don't see any, or if we had any red flags about anyone who we might recommend for funding, then yeah, I think we should roll with what we have.
I second or third or.
I think Sarah, you probably need to make a motion, ask for a motion, I think, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, motion to approve as currently laid out.
I approve.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, was that, so I think, let's see. So that sounded like unanimous. Were there any nays? Okay.
Nope.
Okay, so I will, I'll send you, so the week before we go to council on November 9th with these recommendations, I'll send out the, you already have the invitation, I'll send out the script. And, but before then, like later this week, I will summarize this. I'll send this to you. I will also reorganize it by funding category, just so you can see how those allocations are breaking down. And then we'll be ready to go on the 9th.
Okay, great, thank you.
Good
Okay.
work, Brian.
Comments?
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Is that the last thing on our
That
agenda?
is the last thing on the agenda.
Great job, you guys. lots of heartfelt conversation.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Oh, Brian,
All right. Thanks, everyone. You guys
Yeah.
rock.
Bye.
Brian,
Yeah.
the reason I was not here is because I was at the doctor. I have a torn Achilles tendon.